Hey everyone, are cows OP? Have you guys seen it? Because we haven't.
All right, let's jump into it.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Cows are one of the most popular builds in the game. And normally,
Really?
a high population is a good indicator that a build is pretty powerful in the current meta.
Okay.
However, I think in the case of cattle, there are a lot of other
Other
factors
boost
that make
viability.
the true power level a bit less obvious. Are cattle low-tier builds that are simply propped up by human activity? Or are they a genuinely powerful high tier that would dominate with or without
Dude.
human help? Let's delve into
Dude.
the
God.
abilities to find
That
out.
kid was like, fuck!
Yeah.
Cattle are part of a powerful faction of builds called bovines, which also includes the bison, Cape buffalo, water buffalo, and historically the auroch. While there are a few differences between them, which we'll discuss in a tier list at the end of the video, they all share a few common traits. Bovines have an exceptionally high HP stat. It takes a lot of damage to bring them down, pretty much requiring team strats from all competitive players at once. And unlike some other high HP builds, bovines don't just sit there eating the damage. No, they can strike back with incredible force. Their sharp, sturdy horns can inflict massive damage on anything unlucky enough to be caught in their path.
wow.
And unlike antlers, which fall off and need to be regrown each year, the horns cattle have
Yeah, deers just like rip their...
I didn't know they just
sometimes.
shed antlers.
Yeah.
The fuck?
And then they come back and they're even worse.
Okay.
they have year-round, always ready to wreck someone's plan of attack.
Oh!
Their mobility stat is kinda mid, definitely not high enough to reliably
Oh!
and their intelligence and stealth are for a mammal. However, neither of these stats are all that integral to the bovine build's main strategy. While lower intelligence does create a potentially exploitable vulnerability to traps and lower their resistance to distractions and intimidation tactics, it's not so low that bovines aren't able to utilize team combos. Quite the contrary, in fact.
Oh my
The herd
goodness.
defense tactics employed by a competent herd of cattle makes them borderline impossible to defeat in a group. And since they have such a high HP stat, this gives cows' teammates a lot of time to regroup and launch a counterattack if one of their herd members goes down and needs a save. Next, we
Damn.
should discuss their unique abilities.
They're like really good at team fights, but they're pretty useless.
Yeah. You see the bird making a bird's nest on this guy?
Yeah, it's like a, code dependent.
Right.
Birds make the nests on the cows. Cows eat the grass for the birds to make nests with.
Community.
Yes.
And their signature combat moves. Bovines all have the ruminant ability, which enables them to gain XP and level up all just from eating grass.
That's
This might
broken.
seem like a boring ability, but its usefulness is actually hard to overstate. Having this perk essentially means that one of the most abundant plants in the game becomes your main source of XP, completely removing the need to search and forage for food. This means a player doesn't need to invest evolution points into things like climbing, digging, keen eyesight, or intelligence to be able to find food, and can reinvest those points into other stats, which is how
Damn!
Whoa, he's huge.
Cattle also push the mammal faction's signature move, lactation, to its limits. Cow milk is one of the most nutritious substances in the game, and allows new cattle players to level up extremely quickly. This helps keep their offspring safe, as it means they spend less time in the more vulnerable low-weight class, and quickly reach a size where hardly anything could realistically take them down alone. The cattle's signature move is Goring Rush, an extremely powerful head bash attack that deals heavy damage and inflicts incredible knockback, forcing the target back a good distance and also likely knocking the target prone.
Oh, he went flying.
Dude,
Holy shit.
so crazy. What the hell?
Follow-up attacks. Their sharp hooves deal extra damage to prone enemies, so this straightforward combo can be devastating to the opponent off guard. That is about it when it comes to the cow's main combat moves. Cows can kick as well, but it's more of a
No, not the dogs.
They don't have the flexibility or power to headshot someone like a horse can. They also cannot deal damage with their bite, since they don't have upper teeth. Not a super big deal, but biting is a powerful option to have in a pinch, so it's at least worth mentioning. Now let's get into the cattle's weaknesses and counterplay. So due to the cattle's low intelligence stat, its resistance to mental status conditions like intimidation, distraction, or trickery is
That's so funny. It's so dumb that you can't intimidate it because it doesn't understand intimidation.
Right.
It's just like, And then the other guy's just like, "Argh," and it's just like, what the fuck, dude? Can't be distracted. Can't be tricked. You can't trick something dumb.
Reduced. Intimidation is a pretty common tactic employed by a variety of different builds, from predators to omnivores to herbivores. Intimidation is one of the most effective tactics against cattle, and can often result in a cow
never
losing
mind.
a battle that
What?
it very easily could have won if it had not been scared away.
Bro, what?
Conversely, if a cow does decide to take the offensive, distractions can easily divert the attack, causing it to completely miss. While this is, of course, extremely risky, overcommitting to an attack and whiffing can oftentimes mean the difference between decisive
Whoa.
and crushing defeat.
Oh, hello.
Advanced players will
I
even
didn't
be
think that
able
was
to utilize
possible.
a combination of intimidation and distraction to kite cattle in specific.
So never mind. I was
They're
completely
weak
wrong.
to
They're weak to
intimidation.
all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, but it would have been funnier if they were so dumb that like nothing would work.
But the fact that they're intimidated by a little goose is funny too.
Yeah.
enabling them to control entire herds, which is what has allowed human manes to capture huge numbers of cattle. Cattle are known for their goring rush
Girl!
attack, which, while powerful, is imperfect. Many builds put a ton of points into the ability Concussive Force Resistance,
Ooh.
enabling them to throw out headbutt attacks without much risk. Cows have some blunt force resistance, but not enough that headbutts and charging attacks are without risk. In fact, at high speed, cattle can easily take lethal damage in a single hit if they strike another
Oh my god.
Oh,
force
damn.
with their charging attack.
He got back
Bulls
up.
like the
Yeah.
goat or bighorn sheep can easily best a cow in 1v1 combat, even though the cow's stats are much higher in a vacuum. Builds with forward-facing horns can also present quite a challenge to bovine builds, as bovine horns tend to face to the side and are more used for swiping and slashing at opponents than for stabbing forward. This means that in a direct confrontation, sharp antlers can deal a lot of damage to a bovine player while keeping them out of reach of connecting with their own horn attacks. There aren't enough different bovines for a proper full-length tier list video, but I think I can do a quick rapid-fire ranking to close out this video. The basic cattle comes in at a solid B tier. Definitely not a bad build, but one with a lot of weaknesses that high tier builds can exploit. Their main advantage over the other, more wild cattle variants is that due to selective breeding by humans, the domestic cattle are actually the best in the game at milk production, and therefore their
Makes
offspring
sense.
level up and reach larger sizes much quicker. Definitely a much more beginner-friendly build, although at the end of your playthrough, there's a good chance a human will eliminate you. Also in
Well,
B
that
tier, we
sucks.
have the yak, a mountainous variant of the cattle that opted for slightly lower base stats in exchange for better resistance to the cold and better mobility on icy or rocky terrain. Same basic weaknesses as the common cattle, but its ability to survive the cold Himalayan mountains means that it has less natural enemies to contend with than cattle in less hostile climates do. At the bottom of A tier, we have the bison. The bison are the largest bovine builds and traded some of their power stats for extra health and defense. As a result, they have shorter horns and lots of padded fur on their head, meaning
Yeah,
that
what's the
they
point
can
of those
take a lot
horns?
more
They're so
damage,
small.
but also can't deal as much damage
Ooh.
using Goring Rush. This can be a bit of a
Well, they could
problem,
still
as
defend
being able
themselves,
to
but
one-hit
they're
a
strong.
wolf would really help discourage aggressive teams of wolves from attacking them. Since they can't get a one-hit kill without a crit, some wolves get pretty brazen in their attacks on bison.
Oof.
Still, they're tied with the moose as the premier tank of the North America server, and have favorable matchups against the grizzly bear. So still definitely a solid high tier.
Okay.
Next in A tier we have the water buffalo, a bovine build with roughly equivalent stats to the common cattle, but with higher offensive stats.
Dude, those horns,
Those
though.
are some meaty horns.
Damn. Dude, that's massive.
Holy crap.
Holy shit.
Horns. They get a mobility bonus in shallow water, which, while not that busted of an ability, is still pretty nice to have. Water buffalo have to be able to fight off one of the most powerful solitary predator builds in the game, the Bengal tiger. Anything that can take on this thing has to be at least A tier. The human player base in the India server is also notably less aggressive towards bovine players, which makes them a lot more viable in that meta.
That's
But
awesome.
when it comes to hostile metagames, nothing compares to Africa. And despite the abundance of extremely
Difficulty
powerful
level
predators
expert.
like the lion and hyena, and territorial giants like the rhino and elephant, the Cape buffalo is still notorious for being one of the most dangerous builds in the game. It's one of Africa's Big Five, a status given to
okay.
builds which are notoriously difficult for humans to defeat.
Is that a leopard? That's a leopard, not a cheetah. Okay. Because I was going to say, a cheetah can't possibly be top 5.
Yeah, we heard cheetahs were kind of punks.
Yeah.
1v1. And so I think for this reason, the African Cape buffalo ranks first among the bovine builds.
Cool.
It
But
still
not
doesn't
S
quite
tier.
Crack S tier. Mostly because it's overshadowed by the wildebeest in the African savanna.
Oh.
What?
The wildebeest, which is not a type of cattle or buffalo, but rather is essentially an antelope with higher stats, may not be as bulky as the Cape buffalo, but it does have a much higher base speed stat. And this speed is pretty crucial for being able to escape
shit.
an ambush from Africa's
Yo.
predator builds,
Wow.
punishing opponents who don't respect the wildebeest's range, leading to the wildebeest being vastly more successful than the Cape buffalo.
So you looking at me
This
funny?
level of supreme optimization is what it takes to crack S tier in the African zone.
Nice.
Now, this doesn't mean cattle will never be S tier. In fact, I think there's a pretty strong argument to be made that prior to humans unlocking the gunpowder technology on the tech tree, bison were the undisputed S tier of North America. And although they were all but annihilated from the server, their numbers are slowly but surely returning to healthy levels. It's quite an inspiring story.
Well,
That was interesting.
that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize cow were so
Diverse.
dumb.
Oh. I was going to say, I didn't know there were so many
Diverse, yes.
kinds.
Yeah.
So many different types of horns, too.
A lot
You got
of,
small ones, you got really curved ones, you got really tall ones. I had no idea.
yeah. I mean, that's their best defense. And if you don't have,
They're only
if
defense.
you don't have like strong, huge horns that'll like mess something up, I mean, you're pretty
You better
much
be
done.
fast.
I mean, they do have a really high defense stat, so they can take a beating
Yeah.
for better or for worse. Because,
Yeah.
like, if I'm losing a fight, I'm going to be suffering
Mm.
because I'm so tough.
Yeah.
That's a disappointment. That's so disappointing. And you're easily distracted, which I got completely wrong. They're just bad. They're just bad.
I'd say they're not OP.
Yeah, they're not OP.
They're not OP.
Well, on that note, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.